guess we're gonna get started.
We apologize in advance for the sick beats getting thrown down behind you.
But my name is Oleg, and I do a show on YouTube called Mr. Sintastic Presents, which Mini Sintastic here.
Stars. And
Let's start this with a round of applause for Mini Sintastic.
And right here,
I go by whatever this says, Grimsie42. It makes no sense. I apologize. Scott. But this panel is actually a discussion, not taking sides till the end maybe. Retro versus new, just a debate on what's good about what was and what's good about what is.
what do you prefer?
That's the tough question, and I would say right off the bat, retro, and the reason is nostalgia. We're all driven by memories before we had a job and all that fun stuff, but I will admit that modern technology has brought us a lot of conveniences. We don't have to worry about batteries dying, and we don't have to worry about memory cards, and
Multiplayer.
I would actually argue that multiplayer was better back then. I know online is cool if you pay $60 a month for the Xbox Live and all that, but there was something charming about having 4 kids around an N64 playing Mario Kart or wrestling or...
Thing is, you can still do that. You can get your friends together and do that.
People don't go outside anymore. And when they do, they're like this. We're old, we're brainwashed.
That's the thing. We're supposed to, kind of take sides, but we're both kind of falling on the side of retro ultimately.
If I had to pick one or the other, I would have to say retro. And the main point I'll make, and I would say the reason I would side with retro, is the new games to me are like movies. Very few movies could you watch more than once. Usually you watch one movie once, you like it, it was good, but it's just not the same the second time. These movies, or these games, they look amazing. They've got, millions of dollars budgets, but it's almost so cinematic that you can't, it's like a story. Once you've been told the story, you're kind of done.
And I think that's the main difference between the retro and new games, is the entire experience is just completely different. You're really comparing apples and oranges. Because with an old game, the whole time, what are you really doing? You're trying to beat the game, you're trying to get a high score, and you're playing the thing over and over. Now you're playing the game more from beginning to end.
I wasn't alive, so I don't really have an opinion.
Don't listen to her. Actually, she's a retro fan, whether she admits it or not. He recently picked up a pretty cool JAMA multi-unit arcade. It's got like 500 games on it, and she plays Alien vs. Predator like non-stop.
Oh yeah, that's his new pride and joy. I've been pleased.
That's his electronic pride and joy. You're his flesh and blood pride and joy.
I wish.
So what do you guys think? What's your opinion? Any thoughts?
How about this? Let's raise our hands if we would rather have retro at Retrogamecon. All right, all you Call of Duty noobs, let's hear who wants modern gaming. Halo, Call of Duty, what else is there? Grand Auto Theft. I will admit, you guys are probably going to boo me off stage. I've never played Fallout until yesterday. I'm playing Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition, and it's really, really good. It's kind of like Skyrim with guns and broken buildings, so I'm really actually enjoying it. And I think that one thing the new games do offer is the ability to put gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes onto these new compressed discs. The older games were a lot more simple, obviously, but I think that was part of the charm. You were playing the game more to play the game than to experience the game, if that makes sense.
I mean, how many times would you play Contra just from beginning to end with the cheat code? And it has a certain charm to it. The difficulties with the charm is. Games nowadays, they're not hard.
I did beat Contra this week. I died twice. I was very disappointed. Cheap deaths. I blame the Retron. So, Mini Sintastic, why don't you tell us your favorite video game? It could be for a phone, it could be 3DS, whatever you want.
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one.
What do you play? I know you play stuff.
We're waiting.
Made me try Mario Kart 8 yesterday, and I
I-
really like your new pride and joy.
What About the games on the iPhone.
I don't really play a lot.
Cut the Rope?
Sometimes.
I don't really like Cut the Rope, but you know, Mario Kart 8 is amazing. I think that one thing, if I were to be modern, the one new system I do have is the Wii U. I think what Nintendo does is they take the image of their retro games and they just improve upon them with the graphics and the abilities and the options. So if I were to stick with a new system, I would say the Wii U. I really do like it. All of their first-party games are gold. They're all, you know, a 90 out of 100 or better. They're basically, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's the same thing over and over, but what do the other systems really have? I mean, you've got Halo for Xbox, and that's pretty much it. Sony has Uncharted. So they're really strong with the third party, but the first party games, Nintendo dominates.
But that's all they got. They have no third party support.
And the reason is because everyone's going to Nintendo for the first party, so no one buys them, and you know.
Nobody's buying the Wii U, unfortunately.
There's what, like 6 million have been sold?
I'm speechless. That's a first.
Scott, what do you think? What's your favorite retro game?
Well, you did say Contra, which is up there, but I would have to say my favorite retro game is the original, the N64 Wrestling. So I liked, I guess you'd say the WCW versus NWO World Tour.
What about No Mercy?
I like that one, but I think the years between them, I was a bit older. I think that one came out in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. And I'd kind of gotten to the point where I had a car and I had a girlfriend, and video games kind of took second place for a while. But the original one back in like, what, 96, it was just really awesome to have 4 of your friends together, like I said. And, you know, the harder you hit that joystick, the better your chance of kicking out. It was just like so many nights where, you know, I'd go to my friends and stay over, and it'd just be 3 straight days of, you know, ramen noodles and Mountain Dew and wrestling, so.
Now you're going for a complete NES, correct?
I'm going for?
Well, as far as they know, you don't have it yet.
How can you go for somewhere you're at already?
But that's what I'm surprised. It's not an NES game that's your favorite.
I was so young then. I mean, I do nostalgically connect to the NES, and there are a lot of games like Contra that I really, really love and I have great experiences with, but I think Super Nintendo would probably be the age where I had the most fun. Turtles in Time was really good. I think when you said favorite retro game though, I just thought, what is the most immediate positive experiences that came to mind? And that was the N64 era. I think the 4 controller ports right in the front, it allowed more friends. 2-player is fun, but when you get a group of people, it's just, you know, so many different personalities. It's good times.
At least for me, as far as the retro games are concerned, I would have to go with Super Mario World. Because Super Nintendo is probably my favorite system of all time. And I remember getting it for Christmas of '91, being on winter break, and playing Super Mario World from start to finish, pretty much the entire mission.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of it too. I think that a single-player experience and a multiplayer experience are different. And I guess to support more of the modern multiplayer, I really did get into Halo 3, and the reason behind that is there was a thing, it's I think still a thing, called MLG, Major League Gaming. And I really thought that the competitive aspect of that and the fact that like e-gaming had become huge where they're selling out stadiums, I think what was cool about that is that like for a while dorks like us were in the spotlight. It wasn't, you know, the Kardashians or whatever nonsense. It was actually stuff that, you know, we're all interested in. So I tried to be as good as them and I wasn't. I got destroyed, but gosh, people online are so mean.
I actually don't play online unless it's with my friends.
You don't want to hear some of the stuff they say. You can't hear some of the stuff they say, but there are some mean people online. I'm not even kidding. It's a good thing I'm not sensitive. I've had people say some horrible stuff. I mean, you headshot some noob and he's talking about like what he's going to do to your parental figures after the game. I have to hold my words, forgive me.
As far as new games, what are you into?
Well, like I said, I'm really enjoying Fallout right now. Before that, I really liked the Batman Arkham series. I thought they were amazing. The second one was the best in my opinion. And I think what the new games do offer, like I was saying, is that immersive environment where it's like you're almost in your own world. It's so big. I probably spent like 40 hours playing that game. You know, it takes 8 to beat, and I was just doing all these side quests, and so it's really immersive. But to be fair, I'll never play it again. I beat it. I'll never touch it again. I'll never go back to it.
Did you play Arkham Knight?
That's the fourth one, right?
That's the newest one, yeah.
I messed around with it a little. I saw they like forced the Batmobile a lot, and
That's why I don't like it. I hate the Batmobile mechanics.
that's what I was hearing. I feel, the graphics look great. I think, unfortunately, and that's the thing with the new games, is that with like Mega Man for the Nintendo, you practically played the same game 6 times. I mean, they go, you get a new weapon, or instead of Woodman, he's now Rockman. I mean, okay, but that's actually Mega Man, so never mind. But nowadays, the graphics are so similar, but you don't want to play the same game over and over, except like Halo. But back then, they had no technology, so they would keep the same game over and over, and we loved it. They slightly changed the graphics, and it was a big deal, but I don't know, I kind of just think that by then, by Arkham Knight, I think the series wore off on me. I was
definitely disappointed. I liked Arkham City the best out of all.
That's the second one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's the one I like the best. I think the first one was amazing, but the second one opened up the world a lot and offered you a lot of new stuff. I think the story kind of suffered in the third one.
Well, the third one was made by a different studio, Arkham Origins.
Yeah, not Montreal. One game I will say I had a lot of fun with, though, is the Grand Theft Auto series, and the reason is because you could make that game your own, kind of like Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, where it's got this huge open interactive world. I think the first game that really did that for me, though, was Shenmue, which I call right at the end of the cusp of retro. I mean, it blew me away that there was like hundreds of hours of spoken dialogue, and like an arcade you can go in and play the old, like, they had like, was it Hang On was in there?
Space Harrier.
Space Harrier. You could get a job in the game.
Shenmue was really the predecessor to GTA as we know now.
Open world games, yeah. I really hope that this new one that's coming out does well. I will get a PS4 when it comes out. I did back the Kickstarter, even though I don't have the PS4 yet.
God only knows when it's going to come out. Mighty Number 9, we've been waiting, 3 years now?
What do you guys think? Mighty Number 9, is that disappointing that they're delaying it? As long as it comes out good, I don't care if it takes 10 years. I think one of the problems with current gaming is the whole right now mentality. And what I say that is, I could go pick up one of my old cartridges and play it. It's exactly as it was 30 years ago. But like an example would be like, what's that new Silent Hills game? Where they just decided, we're not making it anymore. And to everyone who was lucky enough to have the demo, we're taking it from you, it expires. So you really don't own the game, you're kind of renting it. You're paying for the privilege to play it. And I just don't think that's fair. If I buy a physical disc, I have something I can trade or something I can let my friend borrow. Why do they charge the same for those DLC games? If I have something, it has more value to me than download it on my hard drive. What happens if my system breaks? Or 10 years from now, when the PlayStation Network doesn't support PS4, how do I re-download my game when my system dies? You're paying for a period of time to enjoy something. It's like going to a movie. I'd rather wait, pay $15 and have the disc.
I never buy DLC games on their, or just digital copies on their own. I always buy the physical.
The only time I'll make an exception is like if I really want to have like a collector's edition. So like I have the Wind Waker HD with the Ganondorf statue, and I also bought the system that came with the download code. And I'm okay with that because I physically own the game, and now I don't have to mess it up, and then I can play the game. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I think what they should do is they should sell you the game, and it should come with a receipt that you can put onto your system, and then, you can't trade it or anything, but it's giving you the digital game and still giving you your disc. But I think they wouldn't do that because new publishers do not like the secondhand market. That's why they've been taking your manuals from you and trying to force you little by little with ultraviolet and digital to convert, because they want all the profits, and they don't like GameStop making money over and over and over on the games that they built. So they don't see any of that money anytime a used game sells. So they're kind of trying to do what they can, just like the movie industry, to steer us away from physical media. The iPods steer us away from CDs. When's the last time anyone bought a CD? I haven't bought a CD since like 2012. It's tough. It's changing markets, and I think for people our age, it's difficult because we're on the cusp. So we remember the times of physical media and phones that had cords attached to them, but we're also around for the change of the generation. So it's very difficult. It's a transition phase. I think a lot of the younger people are lucky because they'll be born into this technology, so it'll be natural to them.
Well, the Xbox One, Microsoft wanted to do that you couldn't trade games in anymore, and there's basically a revolt against them. They changed it the last minute.
And I think this is the last generation we'll see that. I mean, next generation, we'll have a system, but we'll just download games. And a problem I see with that is like my Wii U has a 32 gig hard drive.
That's what I was going to say. Even the Xbox One that I have has a 500 gig hard drive. I can fit 10 games.
Well, a good example is a good game I'm really looking forward to coming out is Xenoblade Chronicles X. I was a big fan of the previous in the series. They just recently had a Nintendo Direct where they said, you know, we're going to have 4 updates for this game already. It's not even out. They got 4 updates. It was 15 gigs. That's half my hard drive. And that's just the updates. I mean, it just digital to me doesn't make sense because you're given this confined space. And you have so much, and then if you don't have it, you have to get rid of it. They don't want you to own your games. They want you to purchase your product, consume it, and purchase the next product. That's like Madden every year, you know, new rosters, and we added a run button or whatever they add every year, but it's getting worse and worse because as technology gets better, the producers of the games come up with new ways to just take more and more of our money. So a good example of Star Wars Battlefront. I'm really looking forward to it, but you buy the game for $60. Then you gotta pay $60 a year to play it online because it's online only. Then you gotta buy the season pass. Then you gotta buy the new map pack. Then you gotta buy Darth Vader's pink cape and Mace Windu's purple lightsaber. And before you're done, you spent $200 on a game that in 3 years won't work.
And there's something about going up to your shelf and picking up Super Star Wars and just popping it right into your Super Nintendo and being able to play it right away.
And dying, don't lie.
That is a hard game.
For you.
That's why retro games are better.
Yeah, that's back then. What retro games did was they had limited scope. So they might not have had all the bells and whistles that we have today. So they had to have a really good story or really amazing play mechanics. I mean, have you guys ever thought of how simple like an NES controller is? 2 buttons, a D-pad, start, select. That's all you get. But what they did with that, as opposed to these 97 button behemoths that we have now, it's just, I think there was more imagination back then. That era relied on imagination, and I think that's why we still care. That's why all these games matter. And I don't think in 15 years that there's going to be, you know, Retrogamecon 2030, and there's going to be a whole new generation going, man, I remember Grand Theft Auto. I don't think that those new games are going to matter to kids. When we were little, there was Nintendo cereal, Nintendo cartoons, Sonic cartoons. It was everywhere. It meant something.
And there's no Halo cereal or Call of Duty.
But there's Mountain Dew. Gotta pwn those noobs with the, what is it, Game Fuel? I like it. Game Fuel tastes good. When I drank it, I thought I was better at Halo. Still got 4-shotted every time I stepped up. It's whatever. And I'm not trying to, do you have a question? Music. So the music now is like masterpieces. I mean, you've got orchestras doing music, but again, the simplicity of that music back in the day, they were given so little. I mean, what could you fit, like 16 bits onto a cartridge or megabits? It was tiny, but they still had that amazing music. It just was so catchy and so simple, and I think now the music is great. Like Grand Theft Auto has the best soundtrack of all time. I won't argue that.
But again, it's immersive, like the movie.
Yeah, I think that's really the message I would take from it. And if I wasn't as old as I am, I wouldn't probably realize the games of the past were designed to suck you in, and the new games are designed to suck you in and spit you out. They want you to move on and move on and move on, and they design it so where you feel left out. Like the DLC. Let's say I buy Mario Kart 8 and I'm playing it and I'm loving it. If I don't have those new maps, it's gonna be pretty lonely in those rooms waiting for people to sign up. I mean, there might be 6 of them. It's just, it's gotten, I don't know, I guess 8 sucks growing up, but it's gotten very difficult to enjoy these new games because it just feels like they're just taking things and taking things. I mean, as we gain stuff, we're losing stuff.
But I actually, that's one of the things which I actually enjoy about the new games to an extent is that they're always changing. They're always adding things on. So it's not the same experience every time.
Well, yeah, they definitely have to switch it up. And I mean, I think that Nintendo's not good at doing that because they're catered to the families and the older generation. But some of the new systems, I mean, you got that new Oculus Rift. Have you tried that?
No, I haven't.
I tried it at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2 years ago, and it was really cool. They actually had it hooked up to Counter-Strike, I believe. So playing a first-person shooter, like turning your head to turn the reticule is a really cool experience. But I think that's kind of like the Wii. I love the Wii, but the controls, like I tried to play Twilight Princess on it, and after working all day, I just couldn't handle for like hours. It's just not, it's a cool gimmick, but it's not something where you can just sit down and relax. It's almost like a job.
That's actually one of the things which about in new games. When I sit down to play, it feels like it's a job. There's just so much to do, and you might play for an hour and not actually do anything.
Yeah, I actually was playing Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition. And I had an hour before I had to head here, and all I did in that hour was like go from one town to another and kill some rotten dog-looking thing. That was my hour. So I don't know how much that did for me. I got some dog meat off of it, which gives me 2 hit points or something. But yeah, I think for me as a busy adult, one of the cool things about the old games are, oh, I got an hour, let me go beat Contra. Or, oh, I got an hour, let Ninja Gaiden beat me again, because beating that game is not easy. But it's really cool because it's kind of like the phone games. And that is one thing I will not knock. I really do like. I don't like the in-game purchases that they suck you into, but the ability to have anything you want in the palm of your hands, I mean, it is pretty cool. I play, Angry Birds.
Angry Birds is the only one I play. I've never tried any of the Sega games or anything like that.
Candy Crush. My wife plays Candy Crush.
I don't even play that.
Did you guys hear that Activision, the company that owns Tony Hawk, just purchased the company that owns Candy Crush for like $6 billion? God, why didn't I invent Candy Crush? No, but I do have some cool stuff on my phone. Like I've got the original Mega Man 2, Mega Man X, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And these are all like right through the App Store. They're not pirated. I mean, iPhone kind of prevents you from doing all that fun stuff, but you get some really cool games, like a Street Fighter 4, Shining Force, X-Gun Arcade.
I've tried Street Fighter 4. I don't like the way it controls. It doesn't feel right.
No, definitely. It's really difficult to get used to the touch screen. I think that for younger people where this is their only experience, it's a lot more natural. But yeah, it's very difficult. So I try to do like RPGs and stuff where controls aren't as precise. Got Chrono Trigger on here. But that is one thing I will give the modern era credit for is with all this technology, you can buy one disc that has like 50 games on it, like that Rare Replay that just came out. That's amazing. It was $30 and it had 30 plus games, or 30 games?
Yeah, 30 games, yeah.
Didn't it have the Battletoads arcade game in it?
It does.
Which never came out on a console as far as I know.
No.
So, I mean, that's really cool that they do stuff like that. I have the, what is it called? The Sega All-Stars Collection for Genesis, Sonic's Mega Collection.
There's a couple collections for the Genesis that came out on PS2 and that generation.
The PS3 is the one I'm talking about. It actually has Golden Axe Warrior on it. I was playing Golden Axe 3, just checking it out.
The one on PS3 is the Sonic's collection, it's called. It's got like 50 games.
So, I mean, that's what I think they could do now to take advantage of this crazy retro that we're going through. Greatest hits discs. Give us like 50 games on a disc for $30. I'll happily buy that because then I don't have to bust out the NES and make sure the cartridge is working and hook it up to an old TV. I think that's one of the reasons that I'm a huge supporter of the Retron 5. I know I'm in the minority, everybody hates it, but it's like 10 systems in one, converted HD, and they all work. Like my Nintendos, unless I'm using my top loader, I gotta take that thing out to dinner and wine and dine it before it works. It's unfortunate, but those front loaders, because they thought that us stupid Americans didn't want a cool looking console and it had to look like a VCR or we wouldn't buy it, so that horrible design.
I've probably gone through about 15 Nintendos in my life.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, and let's be fair here, we're gonna talk about some of the things that Retro did do wrong, because there were some things they did wrong. One thing that drove me nuts was the price. I mean, back in the day, I paid like $89.99 for Chrono Trigger. And yes, it's worth $89.99. It costs more than that now, but that technology was so expensive back then. It was like they were at the pinnacle of physical cartridges, like they could get no more out of them, so to squeeze all those chips in there, it was like $100 for a game. I remember that Nintendo was actually charging publishers $35 per game. So like Cruis'n USA cost Midway $35. That's why they charged $69. $69, dudes.
You got a question?
But $200 now is $89 back then. That's the inflation. Yeah, I mean that's so. I actually will respect that. DLC aside, modern gaming is the same price as old gaming was. I mean, I paid $200 for my $250 for my Super Nintendo, but the games, the prices have stayed consistent at $50, $60. So yes, it costs them like $1 to print the disc, but to make the game is so much more money. So it's actually respectable that they've kept the prices the same.
I remember I bought Street Fighter 2 in the summer of '92 when it came out for the Super Nintendo. It was $80. It's like $120 now.
You know what's worse? That's $10 per character. You paid $10 for E Honda.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah. So the other thing that sucked is, and I hope you all feel this struggle, as a kid, we couldn't afford these games. I mean, for me, it was 1 or 2 games for my birthday and 1 or 2 games for Christmas, and that was it. So whatever you had, you better really enjoy. Now, it's like kids are getting like 6 games a week. I mean, I used to be a manager for GameStop back in the day, and I would see parents come in and just buy their kids game after game after game, and it's just like, why wasn't I that spoiled as a kid?
I kind of was.
We all didn't have czars for fathers and mothers, so I mean, his parents are, his dad's a czar, if you guys didn't know, so.
That's not true.
What, vice czar, assistant czar? What other rankings is there? I don't know. Prime Minister? He's from Russia and I'm the worst friend ever, so like as far as I'm concerned, he's like, he eats yak meat and cold rocks, and like if it's any more than like 30 below zero, he's gonna die of heat exhaustion, and like he can break rocks with his hands, and he's just like.
This is all I hear all day long.
Yep.
But isn't that what being friends is cool for? I mean, and that's where I kind of was talking about how I like the retro, where I don't want to hear some dork from like Britain tell me I'm a noob and a fat lazy American that eats cheeseburgers. I want to bust my friend's balls right in person. You know, I mean, that's part of the, the excitement of meeting your friend right to his face, as opposed to this whole, oh no, the game lagged and I died. No.
But again, that is the one thing which I do enjoy about the newer games is the multiplayer, especially. See, I don't play really Call of Duty or anything like that, but I actually do play game fighters. I've played Street Fighter 4 online, and that's a lot of fun because it really opens up you can play against anybody in the world at any given time. You don't have to wait for a friend to come over or whatever. I didn't grow up with any siblings. I have a younger brother who's 15 years younger than me, so.
He's 75 years old. They age differently in Russia. It's like a metric system.
Yeah, but I lived till I'm 300, so.
Yeah, but that's in Russian years, though. Isn't a Russian year only like 2 weeks? No, I will agree with that. I think it's a good and a bad thing, though, about playing online with people. When you know who your opponent is, you know what to expect. It's kind of scary playing online, especially in a fighter, because I don't know if I'm playing against some noob that I'm going to trash or some like super Asian god who's going to destroy me while surfing the web and playing on his phone. I mean, it is kind of scary, and the other thing about it is you got your record up there. I'm almost scared to play like in Smash Brothers. I'll play the little casual online, but I've never played a ranked match because I'm scared I'm going to go 0-1. So it's kind of like intimidating. I don't want some dude to destroy me.
But getting like Street Fighter 4, for instance, though, it kind of feels like the way it did in the arcades when you're standing at the arcade and somebody can walk up and play against you. You don't know what to expect. It's that same kind of thing.
Russian dude.
Pretty much Russian attack over here. Don't even get me started on arcades. Does everybody remember arcades? The beautiful, beautiful things that they were? those quarter suckers. That's one thing that really disappointed me as gaming progressed, that took the arcades away from us, because the arcades were cool not only for the social, that was our social interaction, but the graphics were so superior. I mean, you go into the arcade and everything was so much better, but what was cool about it is it was a place for us to get out of the house and get away that had video games. And it exists now. I mean, there's those barcades, which are kind of cool, and I do respect them for doing that, but you go to like Dave & Buster's now, and there's like Time Crisis 4, and then a bunch of ticket-sucking things, and that's it. It's like, they just don't exist anymore, and there's no reason for them to, because the games at home look better. I mean, the games now are so photorealistic, you can see like the inside of a guy's pores on their face. It's like, how real does it need to get? I think for me, the cool part about retro was you almost had to use your imagination and put yourself in the game. Now you don't have to. Now you're kind of like watching that movie, like I keep bringing up, and it makes it more difficult for me to connect to the game, because everything is there for me. I don't have to do anything, and every 10 steps is a checkpoint or autosave, so there's no repercussions. If you died in those old games, you got game over. You wanted to beat it, play it again, that's it. Now if you die, they're like, you can revive for 99 cents, press OK. Meanwhile, we're all broke from that.
And that's actually one of the things with the newer games, which right now I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. It came out this week. Great game. But it feels like there's no gravity to the fact that you die. Because you die and you just start back right where you were. There's checkpoints literally every minute, and you start right back up. There's just no weight to the fact that that you die. So I don't know.
So there's no consequences to modern gaming.
Exactly.
The consequences, I think, would be your pride, the online that I was bringing up. But that's true. It's like I was playing Fallout and I died, and I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It brought me back to an autosave 6 seconds before I died. So it was like, okay, do it again. There was really no consequence. So now I don't even save. I just let it save whenever it wants. I'm not concerned. I jump out there and fight. I'm sure somebody out here knows those dudes in the armor. They got the crazy laser guns. I ran into one of those as a level 6. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'll beat you. That didn't work out too well for me, but it just, you have no fear. It's because there's always that autosave waiting for you. I mean, back when I was a kid, if I died once in Ninja Gaiden, I was like, oh, ruined, I gotta reset and start over. You need that life. So.
The one good thing is I've saved money on controllers now, because I don't break controllers anymore because of dying in games like Ninja Gaiden.
We're not all rageaholic Russians over here. Plus, I'm not strong enough to smash a puny controller in my hands. You see how small these are. I'd try to squeeze it, my hand would break.
Well, I threw controllers out the window. It was crazy.
You're just feeding into my stereotype. And what'd you do after that? Punch a hole in the wall?
Weird Russian dude.
You're at least 50% Russian yourself.
You realize that, right?
I know.
That's a good thing, though, because you're still European. That's like exotic.
Kind of is, but Russian dude.
He deserves it. Oleg is the perfect friend. He's that friend that's like immune to pain. That's where I really derive his stereotype from. Like big strong Russian, is that he's just impervious. If you guys were heckling him right now, he'd be smiling, cheering you on. You can try it. I won't stop you.
I do it all the time.
She does. If you watch her videos, the whole time it's just her heckling me.
Which is awesome, because I think what she is she's an extension of the viewer. So like, if you've ever watched something on TV, like a TV show, and you're like, or how about a scary movie where the girl is just like, I heard a chainsaw, I better investigate. She gives you that voice where it's like, when you're saying something, we're all thinking she's saying.
The best was when I was going on and on about the Alpha Omega Sin when we went out to meet him.
Who's Alpha Omega Sin?
You guys are familiar with Alpha Omega Sin?
He almost came. I was begging him and pleading him, and he was burned out from conventions. He basically, between I think like August and September, spent an entire month on the road with the Game Chasers, and then, you know, stayed at Billy's house, went in between cons, and he was just so burned out. He said, you know, he told me, he's like, Scott, I would love to be there. I really regret not coming, but it's just he's burned out. And that is one thing about these conventions. It's awesome to go to your local convention, see all your friends, get games, check out the panels, but when you do it as like a job and you're like obligated to talk and you're obligated to, you know, stop and take pictures, when you're famous like him, it really wears on you. Like I watch, like I'm sure James, anytime he hits the floor, has a crowd of people following him around. And I know that, you know, that's awesome to see fans who support what you do. But I'll tell you, it can be exhausting. I'm lucky I'm nobody and have like no subscribers, because I don't know if I have the energy for that. You know, I mean, I'm like almost personally connected with all my subscribers. I like know them by first name, which is awesome. I don't know what I would do if I had 1 million subscribers. That just, the concept of that, just, I can't picture it. What's it like having 1 million subscribers, Oleg?
Yeah, I don't know, what do I have, like 300 something now? It's all right.
You know what though, and this is something I'll say to everybody who has a smaller channel. I'm small in my eyes too, but somebody, for like example, 300 subscribers. If your video gets 100 views, you know, people are like, well, it sucks, you know, PewDiePie gets 80 million. Think about that though for a second. 100 people sat down and enjoyed your product. That's crazy to think of. I mean, there's not even 100 people in this room. You know, 100 people sat down and watched your video. That's insane. So, if I could give any advice on YouTube, well, since we're way the heck off topic now, enjoy every view you get, and every sub you get, and every comment you get, because that's a living, breathing person enjoying what you do. Or even some troll saying, you know, like I get, I'm a trust fund baby because I buy video games, and it's not true, but...
Where did that come from?
The trust fund thing?
Yeah.
People assume because I have a large collection that like I grew up in like whatever super rich suburb, like you did basically, with the marble floors and...
That's not true.
It wasn't marble, it was Corian tile, you know, it's imported from Rome itself. They like took a chisel off the Colosseum and made this floor. Ivan the Conqueror.
That was just my bathroom.
Do your like older family members have nicknames like something the something?
No.
No? Any connection to the KGB?
Not that I'm aware of,
He could tell us, but he'd have to kill us. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, it's awesome to have a friend where you could just completely just like take your shirt off or whatever and just go nuts and heckle them to death. See, I'm the kind of guy though, I do that to all my friends. You guys would just, April can attest. If you have an A as the second letter of your name, I change the first letter to G just for pronunciation's sake, no matter who you are. Nathan with a G, April with a G.
And if you can't tell, he's kind of the asshole of the group.
I heard that.
You know, it's really not good parenting to swear. The a-hole of the group has been behaving himself. I'm just me. I'm not shy. I'm going to be exactly what I am. And I know people will think, oh, Grimsie, Action 52, you noob, all that, but it's cool. I don't mind that. I'll be the villain. If you guys want to make me the villain, I'm the villain. I don't care. Because think about it. You need a villain for the hero to have a purpose. So I'm actually more important to this story. Just like in wrestling, right? Is the heel more important than the face?
Absolutely.
Even though I can't stand Seth Rollins.
He's out now.
That was I stabbed his knee, voodooed out. I heard the KGB put a hit out on him.
Speaking of that Action 52, now when that happened...
Aren't we supposed to go back on topic?
It's all right. We'll digress for a second. Did you actually have the game at that point?
So for those who don't know the story, anyone who's a fan of the Game Chasers already knows this story. Actually, a friend of mine, Jason Lambert, messaged me about a year before this happened and said, you know, hey, I'm going to give both the Chasers a copy of Action 52. And at that time, I wasn't going for completeness, and I was like, okay, that's some unlicensed game, cool. And then we're at MagFest, and he walks up and he just gives them both this game, and it's like a $200 game. And everybody teased me. Well, the problem is I didn't realize the cameras were on me. Melvor is very good at being like kind of hidden and in the background. Yeah, and I had this salty look on my face, and it wasn't jealousy. I'm capable of purchasing an Action 52, and I do have one. I had one at the time. What it was I was like, those undeserving chodes. I mean, it's like, they're just standing there scratching themselves and burping and farting and, you know, walking around with their shirts off. And here's some dude who genuinely enjoys what they do so much that he went out and got them each a $200 game. So I think if I was jealous of anything, I was jealous that they have such awesome fans. And I was told to give a message. I do apologize on behalf of Billy and Jay. They were supposed to be here. Billy had to do some freelance editing last minute, and unfortunately they had to cancel. But I did talk to Jay. They're gonna try to make it next year. I know they don't come to a lot of shows around here. It's a tough drive from Texas, but you know, I definitely do apologize for them not being here. So if anyone came here specifically to see them, there's lots of other awesome stuff here, hopefully, so are we. But anyways, Action 52, haha, Grimsie's a noob, yeah.
Have any of you guys seen the NWC prank that he pulled on me?
Oh, please tell me you guys saw that. So, for anyone who thinks I'm what he called me a rear end hole, there's a little story behind why I did that, you know, and yes, I'm so cruel, like, we were actually on a road trip in Rochester, about an hour from here, and he told me that the owner of his store local to him had an NWC, and I didn't believe him. I thought he was messing with me, but he was 100% convinced. He's like, yeah, he's got an NWC, I'll have him text you a picture of it, and anyone who doesn't know, I'm going for a complete Nintendo set. So, the thought of owning that game had never occurred to me. I don't have $20,000. I'll never have $20,000 to spend on games. But for a while there, I was like, this guy might really have it. I might really be able to get this game. And it was like, I was like really out of my element for it. And then Frank, the owner of it, sent me a picture and he said, look, I know you know what this looks like, so I'm gonna tell you right away it's fake. And he sends me the picture. It didn't even have dip switches. Like, it was like, Helen Keller could have told you this thing was fake. And I don't understand. So I messaged him and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna get this guy. So I took my entire Super Nintendo collection, which is like a lot of stuff, by the way, and I boxed it all up and drove 4 hours to Albany. And everybody in the store, all my friends, were all set on this elaborate prank where the owner of the game broke it in advance and he handed it to me carefully after we do this huge trade. I had like 16 grand worth of Super Nintendo games. And the whole plan was that I was going to get the game and trip and fall and drop it. And the cool thing was I was so nervous because of the prank, you know, is anybody going to screw it up, that it looked like I was nervous about the trade. So like my mood was right and everything. And when I dropped the game, he had a look on his face. Anyone who saw that video, if you guys haven't seen it, look up Grimsie42 and NWC. I made his face the thumbnail. To see the genuine pain in his eyes thinking that I just dropped a $20,000 video game that shattered into pieces, it really meant a lot to me that he was so genuinely concerned for his friend who had just dropped a $20,000 game that 30 seconds later I was knocking him and being dummy for falling for it.
Even now when I watch the video when he drops it, I cringe. I have the same reaction. It's awful.
I'm gonna try to find the picture just to show you guys.
That was hilarious.
It was painful. I feel bad for you. I was.
Well, you're the one that dragged your entire Super Nintendo collection across the state.
That was actually really scary. There was this. I'm a typical New Yorker. I drive in the left lane, so I was going about 80 down the I-90, and some car in front of me started slowing down, and I'm like, what's going on? So I started slowing down. They came to a complete stop and turned into one of those medians, and I'm like, oh my God. And I like threw my arm out, and I'm catching like totes of Super Nintendo games. Dude, my life flashed before my eyes. That was not good. That was not cool. I don't know if I'll be able to find this dang picture in time. I have a picture of Adam with short hair. You want to see that?
No, not yet. Mini Sintastic is helping me devise a plan.
It'll be done in a few months.
Here's the thing, though, and I really do challenge you to this. Are you truly going to wake the sleeping beast? I mean, do you really want to open those gates? That's like Pandora's box. If you if you get me back, you'll never reach that level. There's no way to prank me that good. I mean, that's the best work anyone's ever done as far as I'm concerned.
It was impressive. I'll admit it.
I
We'll see what
destroyed
happens.
you. Your face was like,
That was genuine fear, genuine care. That was pretty much everything wrapped into one.
I'm hoping I have a picture of it. I really don't think I do. I have a lot of funny Oleg pictures in here. I guess I have an Oleg obsession, if you will, but I can't find the picture right now. But basically, just like picture this guy like watching the whole world come to an end. Like imagine he's in Fallout and he's standing, watching the whole world explode. He was just like, and his face was purple, literally purple. So it was, hey, what were we talking about again? Retro versus new?
Yeah, we got sidetracked a little bit. I don't know what else there is to say at this point about it.
Are you lost for words?
As far as the retro versus new.
I'll tell you what, I don't think this convention is called New DLC GameCon. And if it was, I bet
Maybe
there'd be-
15 years ago, but
in 15 years, this crap will be retro. Your Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to have like some 50-year-old guy on stage going, in my country, we didn't raid the tomb raided us. I also think he's got this like Zangief accent. He was born in you were born in Ukraine.
that's correct.
So, but he's so foul. He's such a disgrace to his country. He's more American than I am. Like, this guy is so American.
Came here when I was little. I was raised here.
You've let your people down.
I'm probably more patriotic than you are.
You are. He's one of those guys who's got the I Love New York shirt. Don't let him fool you, though. He's one of those spies.
I rooted for Rocky and Rocky 4.
I must break you. What a traitor.
Ironically, you look more like Drago.
I do have the Ivan look. Dude, Dolph looks rough these days. Have you seen him? Man, and Arnold and Van Damme. I'm so old. Those were my
I'm
heroes.
like 80 years old now. What do you expect?
You're about 2 years away from that.
In Ukrainian years.
Now, I thought it's all Russia, right? It's all the same.
Yeah, go over there and say that.
Ukraine is not weak. Does anyone have any questions for us? We'll take hand raises because we do have some other knowledge we're not thinking of. Handheld. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, aside from the phone, I've never been a huge fan of handheld, and the reason is like, it just kind of, it's uncomfortable for my neck. Yeah, we did kind of touch on that. Honestly, I was thankful for the little tutorial in the beginning of like Fallout, for example, because it's such an immersive game, I had no idea. But after you get me started and you kick the training wheels off, I don't need it anymore. I don't need a little message or a little arrow to tell me where to go. I think they're taking everything away from you as far as they're like, this is what you're going to do. You have to play this way. You have to progress this way. If you want the trophy, you have to do this. So I think it kind of takes a lot away from what your imagination and your control of the game, I guess. Which is true, because I remember back in the day, if you didn't have a manual for a certain game, you were not going to beat that game. Those 8 pages were crucial to your existence. No.
That's definitely one of the things which I don't like about the retro now, though. There's no manuals. There's such a charm to the manuals.
You don't like about retro now?
I'm sorry, about the newer games.
There's the online digital manual, bro.
Not the same.
Mad Wheat.
For hoarders like us, it's just not the same.
Die in a fire, okay? Thanks, Noob. LOL. I'm sorry, old people don't like that talk.
I had no idea what you're talking about.
He constantly says dude in text, but he uses it too much like Canadians say A, like it's just unnecessary. Like, if he's going to sleep, he's like, I'm going to bed, dude, good night, dude, talk to you later, dude, all in one sentence. So what I'll do is I have it copied and pasted where it's like gnarly, tubular, radical, totally, and I'll just take like all the old 80s slang and just bombard him with it.
Or you'll just send me cowabunga.
Yeah, cowabunga, that's my response, it is dude. You don't have to type dude. You can say dude. But you don't have to type dude.
Russian dude.
Yeah, dude.
You guys have any other questions?
If you don't ask us questions, we're going to ask you questions, and that's way more awkward. Dude, I have a question for April. Why do you like Dragon Warrior? Final Fantasy's better. I don't remember Adam being the main protagonist of any Final Fantasy game. He does resemble Squall, though. Adam and Squall are very similar. No, not Squall, Titus. Adam and Titus are twins. I don't really think Final Fantasy is better than Dragon Quest. I'm about neutral, but Suikoden is better. Suikoden 2 is the best game ever made. Sorry, no argument.
I just got it, but I haven't played it yet.
He doesn't like RPGs. His collection and mine are actually, I always told him that if you put our collections together, it would be the ultimate collection, because he's a big fan of like instant gratification games, like fighting games and shooters. And I do admit I've been getting into both genres recently. I've always been a fan though of the slower pace, because again, when I play a game, I kind of want to immerse myself into the world, so RPGs are where I gravitate, or maybe like a really involved action-adventure game, but you do have a pretty good shmup collection. I will say it's better than mine currently.
That's my favorite genre, is shmups, definitely.
But you suck so bad at them.
No, I don't. I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, okay. Let's believe that. Okay.
Dude, when you're playing a shmup, you die more than a 70 hippie shirt.
Let's go if we can track one down and play. Come on.
He's so bad at shmups that his ship loads exploded. It's just the little fire cloud. Just because the game's trying to save him the hassle and embarrassment. How many broken controllers again?
We're not going there.
Let's open this window to find out.
Outside of his house, in his backyard, there's actually a grave site for all his controllers that he's destroyed. There's like all these tombstones.
What's funny, and my wife has witnessed this, but whenever I get really enraged with the game, I start actually swearing in Russian. It really just, yeah.
In Russia, game owns you.
Then she doesn't understand it, so it's all good.
I'm pretty sure if you're yelling and you're like, "Wah, Vladimir Putin," and she knows. I don't know any Russian swear words, but I can do a few.
I know some.
I can do a few Klingon swear words.
They kind of sound like those.
I figured. I mean, that's basically what I picture a Russian as, is the Klingons. Not Worf, because he's all like Americanized and stuff, but like those mean ones on the ship that are all like punching each other and killing each other. That's what I picture. Every Russian is like 6'8", 300 pounds, immune to anything.
Big furry hat.
Why don't you let him wear that for the rest of this? This is what I picture him as. He's gonna wear his hat. His actual hat like this, he actually got it from killing a wild like tiger in the like Russian mountains, if there are tigers up there. You should have worn that for the whole panel.
Too bad you just noticed it.
Any respect that I had for him is gone. It's just gone.
Hide's been lost for a long time.
Harsh.
You know who I picture him as is Olaf from Berserker. Do you know who I'm talking about from Clerks?
When that movie came out, so many people would come up to me and be like, "Boy, Berserker."
I would love to sing a few lines from that right now, but little ears.
Yeah, not right now.
My love for you is like a drunk berserker.
It only took a few days before the
Chew on hockey puck berserker. Sorry, that's all I had. Russia's not good at hockey, by the way. No, you're horrible. Remember, what was the Great Miracle in 1980?
We got back in '84. Sorry.
What happened to your country, by the way? You were like a superpower, and now you guys are all like homeless. You guys are like Fallout in real life.
Chernobyl, man.
Dude, that whole communist thing does not work. If you can't earn anything, there's no desire, there's no passion, there's a bunch of drones. How did this turn into like bashing communist Russia? I blame myself. It's because you guys didn't have any questions. You did this to me. I don't want to talk about retro video games anyway. Retro.
Yeah, let's talk about communist Russia. That's better.
I got more laughs than when I was talking about dying in Ninja Gaiden, or Gaiden, whichever you prefer. We are actually wrapping up towards the end though, so if there's any questions, we got like 3 minutes left. My retro games or my modern games? So, I'm convinced that 10 years from now I'll still be able to play my retro games, and the reason I say that is it's so easy to emulate, so maybe my cartridges will have bit rot, but what terrifies me about these new games, how many people have owned a PlayStation 1 that's broken? Or a PlayStation 2, or an Xbox? There's so many moving parts in these systems that what are you going to do in 10 years when there's no PlayStation 3s or no Xbox 360s and you can't play Halo? It's gone. Never again. You know, it's these old games. I mean, I've got 30-year-old cartridges that I pop in and they play. Maybe you got to give them a little blow, but that's what she said. Anyways, it just, back then, the things were so simple. And I mean, I'm not totally qualified, but I'm capable of repairing a lot of these things. So it really scares me. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm 80 years old and all my old games don't work anymore. That's a world I don't want to live in.
Is that when your last quest for NES is going to come out by then?
I'll make a new one in like 2 weeks.
In his last episode, he showed a couple games that he got for me. The games that he got for me, he got 2 years ago. That's how far behind you are.
When I get new Nintendo games, I put them in this special Tupperware, and every time I'm going to do a video, I take a handful out. Those just fell to the bottom of the pile. I don't know. Dude, that one game you gave me, what's the one that's not Mule?
Yeah.
That is the worst game I have ever played in my life. Maybe if I had an instruction book, I didn't know what the heck was going on. Explain it to me. What am I supposed to do? That sounds a lot like Harvest Moon and SimCity had a baby. To quote the great meme, man, ain't nobody got time for that. The closest I'll come to that nonsense is ActRaiser, where you had the little farm simulator. And I only like that because you were a naked little pixie and you got to shoot at little demons with arrows. That was cool. That's never been my style, though. I don't want to like farm simulator. Anything that like reminds me of work, I don't want to do. I have enough of that in my old life. Sadly, it looks like we're out of time, though. I really appreciate you guys coming and sticking through this. Mini Sintastic was the star of the show, though. Let's give him one more round of applause. Some parting words, folks.
Just thanks a lot for coming out, and enjoy the rest of the con. And check out our table. We're kind of hidden.
He's got a lot of overpriced stuff. It's the diagonal table, and then all the awesome prices are on my table.